Chapter 8, The Elder's Mistake. From a hired hand to a prince. Footnote: the first section of this chapter, told to the author by Anastasia's grandfather, is presented without identifying quotation marks. At the beginning of the present era, many countries were already ruled by emperors, pharaohs, or tsars. The form of government under which a large state is controlled by one man is unnatural. It has never brought and never will bring a good, happy life to a single nation on the face of the earth. This form of government benefits the priests, who manipulate countries through their rulers. It is difficult, after all, to negotiate with all the people at once. A lot easier to deal with just a single individual. Only in Rus they did not succeed in setting up a single ruler. Everyone there was guided by the tribal elders' council. These councils were not something that could be corrupted or forced under threat into a decision that would lead to the oppression of the people. Who would make such an obscene decision for one's children? Several times, through various subterfuges in different places, the priest's assistants attempted to set up a princely authority, a single ruler over the people. In this particular area, for example, events unfolded as follows. One day, a stranger from afar arrived at the Vedras Capiche, situated where Suzdal is now. Like the wise men, itinerant minstrels, and craftsmen, he was offered food and lodging. The stranger stayed there 2 weeks, but did not engage in any useful activity. The hired hand in charge questioned him. "What useful contribution, stranger, can you make to our capiche?" And the stranger replied, "None at all, but to you personally, I can render an invaluable service. I have heard rumors that the elders are not happy with you. In a year, maybe even half a year, you will be let go. But if you take my advice, on the other hand, the elders will be crawling on their knees before you. You can have your pick of girls from any domain to wife, whereas right now, there's not a single one that would live with you. I can make it so that it will be your decisions, and not those of the tribal elders, that will be carried out." The hired hand in charge of the capiche and part-time janitor agreed. He listened to the stranger, an agent of the priests, and the stranger proposed. "When people gather for a fair at the capiche from all around and stay until the following morning, during the night you will cut your face with a knife and leave the capiche along with your trustworthy assistants, so that you can return in the evening with broke-winded horses. During the night, I and my assistants, they are already here in the guise of artists and craftsmen, will take the horses away from their tethering posts, and you will bring them back in the evening, saying you recaptured them from the miscreants. In your wounded state, you will ask the elders for an armed garrison for their own protection. They will agree. You will take my companions into your garrison. They will all meekly obey your command." The hired hand agreed to this criminal act. He did everything according to the stranger's proposal. When the wounded man returned toward evening with a herd of stolen horses, he learnt that not only had the stranger's henchmen stolen the horses, they had also killed 3 people and burnt the smithy and barn. The wounded hired hand appeared before the elders. He told how he and his assistants had given chase to the miscreants, but they were outnumbered and his assistants were beaten back. And then he began asking the elders for resources to maintain the strong armed garrison. He asked them to grant him the authority to make decisions on his own in the interests of general security. The elders were taken aback at the hideous crime and agreed to maintain the garrison, only they were unwilling to pull their own sons away from their domains. So it was decided to bring in strangers to form a garrison and allot them a tribute from each domain. Other capiches followed their lead and also began to create their own armed garrisons. Indeed, since they now had power, the hired hands began transforming themselves into princes. They started waging war against each other, justifying this to the elders as a necessary preventative first strike. The princes supposed they had achieved considerable authority. In fact, for centuries now, they have been strictly following the priest's advice, often without even realizing it. Such a system of authority came together all by itself. The hired hand remained a hired hand. He merely exchanged masters. Footnote: in Russian, the word for prince is knyaz, K-N-I-A-Z, formerly spelt K-O-N-I-A-Z, is derived from kon, K-O-N, or horse, and originally meant a herder in charge of horses. This original meaning of knyaz survived in parts of Russia until the 19th century. Also, a Russian proverb says, "Iz grazis v knize," princes are derived from dirt, preserving the memory of the fact that it was the most marginal members of society that became the princes. He merely exchanged masters. The new master was exceptionally cruel to his hired hands. For thousands of years, the priests' hired hands kept killing each other, conspiring and hatching their schemes, aspiring more and more lustily for power. You surely know yourself from history how many deaths the path to princely power is strewn with. They even resorted to slaying their fathers and brethren. Pretty much the same thing came about in various countries, and little has changed even today. Thus, the time of the princes had its start in Russia too, just as it had in other lands long before. You know the rest of the story, I dare say. The armed garrisons are still around today, still serving somebody else's interests. The armaments and weaponry may have changed, but the essence is still the same. And the crimes have not abated. They keep multiplying and getting more and more sophisticated. The elders made a mistake. It is a mistake which, if you form your own political party, you will not want to make again. A mistake not to be repeated. What precisely was the elders' mistake, I asked. Was it in forming the garrisons with foreign mercenaries? But the way things have turned out now, a state can no longer survive without a militia or an army. The garrisons here, Vladimir, are not the underlying cause. It goes a lot deeper into the psychological. I don't know how to put it more clearly. It has to do with forgetting about the precepts of our ancestors. God's precepts. Think about it. God gave each and every one equal authority. Consequently, the only social structure that can claim perfection is one where there is no centralized authority, where every individual is endowed with equal power. When you give somebody your vote, you are not bestowing authority on anyone. By voting for someone, you are simply placing them in subjection to the existing system, and voluntarily relinquishing the authority God has given you. And over the centuries, most people's minds have been perverted. It is the job of the ruler and the government to deal with all the important questions for us, they think. These people's thoughts don't even touch the question of the order of life. So that means there's no longer any point in voting at all? We'll never establish a party that way. By law, we have to vote. Well, if you have to, then vote to make sure no one individual is able to control other people's lives. If you're talking about the Vieche gatherings they had in Vedic Rus, I said, that's totally impossible today. People can't constantly keep coming together from different parts of the country. Besides, there's no way a party like that can ever get registered. Why do they need to come together? Just turn all the modern inventions at your disposal to a good purpose. Use any kind of communications link, the computer, for example. As for registration, isn't that a bit ridiculous for a party of the majority of the people? You ought to be registrars yourselves. Anyway, securing some kind of registration is not the main point at issue. The main thing is not to allow the setting up of any centralized authority. Anybody working in the central apparatus, if it is absolutely necessary according to your law, should be strictly hired staff with no access to financial control. Besides, money should never be concentrated in one place. But the law requires all parties to elect a central committee, I observed. So elect all party members to it, or at least every 10th person in the party. There's something else to think about here. I got really angry at first when you said the party's main goal was the restoration of love to families. I thought you were making fun of me, or that you were trying to make me into a laughingstock. I remember. But now I've given quite a bit of thought to this question and have come to the conclusion that is really not just one of the main goals, but it is the main goal, and that the question of finding one's soulmate requires specific conditions to be set up, special events to be organized. The rites of ancient Rus should be made public, and we need to get not only science but also culture and ideological propaganda involved in working out these questions. They need to be resolved on the state level. The degree of civilization of any given state needs to be judged on the basis of the number of happy, loving families therein. Congratulations. On what? On understanding that. Congratulations are still premature. I cannot for the life of me think of a way to formulate this goal without people laughing at its constitution, or at me, or at our future party. So let them laugh. What do you mean, let them? If people start laughing, then I'll be the only member of a party with a constitution like that. It will end up being an unregistered party with a laughable constitution, supported by one single individual, and an ordinary member of a party at that. Why just a single individual? There will be at least two. I shall be supporting it as well. And the two of us will raise some money and hire ourselves an executive secretary. Are you serious? What, you're going to join the party too? No, I shan't be joining it. Anyway, as you point out, I can't be registered under your law. But I will be supporting the Motherland Party with my whole heart. From right here in the taiga. Right there in the taiga. And if you're concerned about there just being two of us, remember that all the great causes have always begun not with a mass of people, but with just a single individual. Years down the road, humanity will indeed laugh, but not at you. They will be laughing at themselves, and they will be happy. Okay. I'll try. I'll give some more thought to drafting the Constitution, and I will ask my readers to think about it too. If I were you, Vladimir, I would ask Anastasia to tell more about the wedding rite. In the Vedas culture, after all, it began right at birth. How on earth could a wedding rite begin at a man's birth? Vedas people considered the primary birth not to be the appearance of the body, but the illumination of love. Nobody in today's world can illustrate this the way Anastasia can. Ask her to recreate a picture of life in a Vedas family. I shan't say where or how this meeting with Anastasia took place. I'll start right away to set forth her description of one Vedras family's attitude toward love. Whoever manages to make sense of it and feel the significance contained in the culture of their love may also be able, perhaps, to figure out the great wisdom and cosmic dimension of the Vedras rites.